Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Axon started out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. Imagine having 100 years of tire and wheel knowledge in your back pocket the next time you sell a piece of ag equipment. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Valley Transportation. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is also brought to you by Ag Direct. No matter how you buy your ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving Iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. Marcus with Chip Nellinger. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. If you're looking for a new pocket knife, Axon would like to give you one for free. If you'd like one, go to marketing at axontire.com and they'll send you a free Alliance Tire branded pocket knife so you can take advantage of the offer. Just go to marketing at axontire.com, send them all your details, tell them Moving Iron Podcast sent you, and they'll drop it in the mail, send it to you for free. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs at Valley Transportation. Our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment, whether it's from a dealer, an auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com. Chip Nellinger is with Blue Reef Agri Marketing from Morton, Illinois. And Chip is nice enough to come on the podcast and talk about what's going on. Chip, how you doing this morning?
Hey, doing well, Casey. Trying to figure out these markets. Quite a volatile time frame we're in.
Yeah, so let's spend a little time talking about what's happening in the wheat market. They've expanded limits to 85 cents, talking about going up to $1.30 if everything continues the way it's been going. Yesterday, intraday volatility was quite impressive. There was a lot of swings one way or the other, and finished up for the day. But in the overnight, it opened up like 47.5 down, and it's made its way back up a little bit to like 37 and some change. So it's moving around, but this volatility is just totally unmasked. I mean, I don't know how you keep your head above water right now.
Yeah, well, unprecedented volatility in wheat, and fortunately, we're in the Corn Belt, so the bulk of our business is corn and beans.
Right.
We do have some wheat producers, and it has been a wild ride to say the least. So, just unheard of issues from this war, right? From, just things you could never even imagine affecting things. And, part of that volatility yesterday was midday, probably around 12-ish, noon Central. So obviously the United States banned Russian oil. And then as kind of a counter to that, Putin came out and said, well, that's fine. I'm going to ban, all exports until the end of December to Europe and the United States. And so, it's kind of a moot point because I don't think anyone was going to buy the stuff anyway, but that's really, pulled wheat all the way off a limit, like $1.30 lower and into higher territory. And so there's just massive amounts of volatility. And it's not just wheat, it's everything. The nickel markets trade at the London Mercantile Exchange, 150-year-old commodity exchange. I believe it's one of the only exchanges that actually has human beings trading in they call it a ring. A lot of people call it a pit. They had to actually suspend until Monday nickel trade.
Right, saw that the other day, yeah.
So just, crazy effects of this stuff that just is still flowing through that, not everyone, even knows yet what the effects of this Russian invasion are going to be, how long the Black Sea is going to be closed, from everything, metals, minerals, fertilizer, nitrogen, grains, obviously. Now the question is going to become, and I'd say there's some of this in the market already, obviously, but can they get a crop in the ground every day that goes by? To me, seems less and less likely. Even if they come to some, agreement here and stop shooting, it's so disrupted over there. Can they even, they're, from my understanding, they're running out of food, water, fuel. I mean, they're just basically being choked off. And even if it stopped today, I don't know that they have enough time to resupply everything. You just think about it. Roads are blown up. Fuel disrupted. I saw on Twitter the other day a farmer from Ukraine is like, I don't have enough. I have some fuel. I don't have enough for spring, but I don't have my seed right now. And so, the friendly seed man probably not real hip on delivering seed right now when there's a war going on. So just untold amount of uncertainty and risk and volatility happening in these markets. So just changes by the minute.
So I think the big question here with this stuff, obviously the war and everything else is there, but it's like you talked about. If you stop tomorrow, what would that look like? And there's a lot of things they have to do in the Black Sea just to get the ports back open. I mean, they've mined all those ports and they've done all that stuff to get those mines out, make sure they've got them all, and kind of go through that exercise. And then as well as that, you have what damage has been done to those ports. And one of the key objectives was to take Odessa and Mariupol, and then they've taken Kherson, which are right there. Those are all Black Sea port cities right there along the way. So, I mean, I guess if you talk to people and they said that, I mean, what kind of estimations do you see out there? Have you heard of any estimations when it comes to just getting ships in and out of the Black Sea after this all settles down?
Yeah, I really haven't. I don't think anyone knows. I think that's part of the problem we have here. So far it seems like Odessa has been kind of kept out of it from my understanding so far. I think that's probably the next step if this thing continues. But I've heard that several of the ports are damaged. So, and when do workers come in? If there's a ceasefire today, when does the declaration of war end?
Right.
I have read that, and I'm certainly not a specialist on this, but read and heard on the news that shipping, insurance companies won't cover a ship. So all maritime insurance is null and void in any waters adjacent to, an ongoing war. And so,
so that's a
until
lot.
that ends, there's not that alone. There's not going to be any shipping in or out of the Black Sea anytime soon, unless it's a ship that doesn't have insurance, and that's a big risk. So again, that's part of what the market's trying to figure out. Underlying all this, it's been kind of quiet. We got a crop report today. The market's still trying to figure out what the size of the South American crop is. They've got some rain here recently, some really good rains, and so I think their second corn crop in Brazil is off to a good start. We need that now. Obviously, the bigger the crop is there, the maybe more of a cushion there is, but still very, very tight on world stocks now, especially not knowing how long the Black Sea is going to be affected for shipping and whether they can get a crop in. And back to I didn't think about this till yesterday. I was in a meeting, and they have allegedly 500 to 600 million bushels of corn that's left to ship, old crop corn, that would hit the export markets. But think about this: most of the electricity's been cut off. It's kind of like early springtime. It's been sloppy over there. A little rainy, a little snowy. You got corn in bins with no electricity right now, and that's never a good issue. And so, how much of that 500-600 million bushels is going to go out of condition? How much can it even be shipped out when they do get back to normal? So it's just immeasurable uncertainty and risk right now.
So let's talk about some crush rates. You look at all the stuff that we got going on. I mean, supply and demand report comes out in March, or comes out here today, and that's a big deal. But you start looking at like crush rates, ethanol crush. You start looking at soybean crush for biodiesel, those kind of things. How is that playing into all this? Because now you're looking at, these guys with ethanol guys and biodiesel guys with $5 diesel and $4 gasoline. There's some money to be made out there right now in the ethanol sector. So I guess, how is that playing into what we see happening now?
Yeah, we still have this, world vegetable oil market issue. That was tight for the last year, 12, 18 months at a minimum. And so crush margins have been very strong. Ethanol crush margins are back again. Here's one of the uncertainties. There's, kind of a slow growing push to do away temporarily with the ethanol mandate. It's like anything. Is it temporary? A lot of times temporary things become permanent very easily, especially out of Washington. So the fear on that is that, you get some major change on the, renewable fuels standard. Is that a possibility? Yeah, sure. But right now, it's added some profitability to the bottom line, and those margins are changing. There's massive moves on cash basis levels here recently, as well, with all the disruption and the big swings in the futures markets. So, there's stress up and down the whole system right now. From the cash grain side, from the hedgers that have had massive margin calls. End users that have had to scramble, and I thought I was going to get some Black Sea wheat, corn, vegetable, sunflower oil. That's gone. Where do I get it now? Panic almost. So, the vegetable oil situation is not going to fix itself overnight. Malaysian palm oil is expected to be 3-4% increase, but that's in this environment helps. It's better than a 3% decrease, but it's still a very, very tight situation. Any way you cut it, from the vegetable oil markets and now the wheat market, and probably the corn market is a little bit scary, depending on the size of this Brazil second crop corn. And with the back-to-back drought, there's a little bit of talk that they're so short, Brazil, because of their first crop corn, that they're going to maybe not export as much of that crop as what is expected. And they've got a long way to go. They're just early on, kind of finishing up planting here. But that Brazilian second crop corn is going to be very important over the next 90 days, how that progresses in the rainfall and the temperatures they get in that crop. If there's any threat to that, it becomes scary bullish to corn then, especially if the Black Sea is going to be, months long closure, and it,
yeah, it looks like that.
You can envision how that could happen very easily.
Yep. All right. So, risk management perspective. Just no one could have planned for this. It's not like the Russia thing came out of nowhere. I think it was one of those things that people kind of ignored a little bit because it was a lot of saber rattling that never went anywhere, and then one day it happened and kind of jumped up and got us. But right now, what's corn? What's front month corn trading at right now? Let's see.
Well, we're down a little bit. May corn is right now 746 3/4, down 6 1/4. New crop is 640 1/4, down 3 1/4. Old crop, if you have old crop at this stage, where you're at. It's massive profitability. It really, not to be a jerk about it, but it really comes down to how long you want to gamble on this crop.
Right.
You want to wait and see if we get any weather scares in June, July, and take this corn to some stupid level, $8.50, $9 new all-time highs. It's a possibility, especially if the Black Sea stays closed. so your old crop, it's a little bit of a just roll the dice, right? You've rode it this far, you got massive profitability. The new crop is a little bit different situation, right? It's still really good profits there. And I would say we're, a week out or less from the crop insurance date here. Comes March 15th. And crop insurance is a huge part of this. In a lot of areas, at the highest level of crop insurance coverage, you're able to, essentially insure break even or profitability. Excuse me. And so crop insurance plays into this new crop risk management in a huge way. Man, been talking too much, Casey. And then, it becomes like, if there's a problem, if there's a weather scare this year, new crop corn could go to new all-time highs. So you've got that balancing act of, hey, we're profitable right now. What do I do? How do I do that? You don't want to say, well, I got $150 an acre profit. Let's take it. And then in June, we have a weather problem, and you're like, oh, now it's $400 an acre profit because I got it all locked in. To me, that's where some option strategies come in, whether that's, covering some sales with calls so you have upside, or instead of making sales, you use some puts. And so the higher we get above the spring price, which was $5.90 in December corn, $14.33 in November beans, that was your spring crop insurance guarantee spring price. The higher you get above there, the more it makes sense to do something to start locking in your profitability. But I think what the wheat market has just showed us is, in my mind, that's probably locking that in is probably more of an option play, because nothing beats the cash grain. If we do a moonshot, you want the cash grain in your pot. I'm not saying don't sell any. I'm just saying don't get too far ahead of your skis on corn and beans here, and say, yeah, that's great, wildly profitable. And then in July, say, man, I left $3 a bushel on the table, because that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, prospective acre report's going to be coming out here pretty quick, right? And that's kind of watch the right hand and don't pay attention to the left hand type of report. But when you're looking at that, I mean, what's your thoughts right now? I mean, you got corn, God. And you got all these people that are talking about corn acres and soybean acres and this, that, and the other thing, and the price of corn's high enough now that the scare of input costs has kind of subsided a little bit. Obviously, soybeans are going to be very profitable, assuming that you locked in some futures there. But I mean, what's your thoughts there?
My thoughts, first of all, are I hate that report. I think it's the wrong timing. The information's already been collected. The surveys are done. And to your point, Casey, the last week, 10 days, you've had, corn probably make up some ground on beans in here. I just don't see how we don't pick up bean acres. There's a wider variance of opinions on this acreage report than I've ever seen, meaning we're going to have some shock on March 31st. And unfortunately, the numbers probably aren't even going to be accurate, but the market's going to trade on it. Then we're going to get an update in June, and you don't get your final one till the January crop report, when you really, really know. Mm-hmm. So I hate the March 31st report. I think we opened the door up for a massive amount of volatility surrounding that. There's literally from 88 million acres of corn to 94 million acres of corn are the estimates from low to high, and so that matters, that big of a discrepancy. And plus, you got all these other crops. Cotton's really high, spring wheat, canola up north, peas and vegetable crops, peanuts in the south, rice. It's a shot in the dark. So.
Right. Everything's worth planning right now, right?
Yeah, plus on that day, you get a quarterly stocks report, too.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't know what – I hate that day. I hate that acreage report with a passion. But, the market's going to trade the numbers even if they're not accurate. Yep. So, I'm in the camp, which is probably scary because I am a bad predictor of this acreage report. I would think that we're down on corn acreage and up on bean acreage, but there's certainly people that feel the opposite of that too.
Okay. All right. Last thing, just because of its correlation, two things. Price of oil has gone through the roof, right? I mean, we're trading Brent oil at $130 some a barrel, and you got all that stuff hammering away right now. Let's see, Brent crude, where you at?
Crude's been all over. It's about 117.55 right now. It's down about 620. But now 9 off its highs. There's a little bit of news here that potentially Ukraine may be ready to negotiate here. I think that's part of why these markets are like all these markets have been rallying, like the gold market, the dollar, crude, wheat, obviously, are taking a little bit of breather here. I don't know what negotiate means. Nobody knows
right
what that means or what either side will eventually agree to, if anything.
Right. So when you're looking at the cattle market and how this all plays together, so cattle herd's been down a little bit, and it's kind of been keeping the price up. Really, you've seen some fluctuation, some volatility in cash cattle, but there's not been this huge fall off that you would expect with the price of corn the way it is, and then accompany that with the price of oil the way it is. And it might just be all of a sudden too early type of thing that they're still trying to let the dust settle and see where things go. But I'm not seeing the reaction that I thought I would see in that market. So what are your thoughts there?
I agree with you. I think that I think we're still dealing with some large numbers, right? And the cash markets have fallen back a little bit, and the packer margins have shrank just a little bit because box beef fell off. But I think you're probably at some good levels here. I think the feeder cattle market was trying to, get its head around, $7.50 corn, which pushed cash corn in the plains well over $8. And so I think we're probably close to some decent support in here in the cattle. But what we've got to watch, and I remember you and I talking about this even before this Ukraine deal, is inflation clamping down on the consumer and then pulling back, right? Mm-hmm. I just filled my car up 2 days ago. I think it's like 30 cents more than now than when I filled it up. It's like $109, right? Yeah. So you can only do that for so long. And, I know a few weeks ago I went and got a filet and it was like $32 a pound. And so that's what we got to watch on the beef side of the equation is, economy slowing down, inflation kind of crimping everybody, and, beef demand going down. So, again, our exports are part of that, and they've been strong. But that's in the long run, that's a little bit of a concern, as it is with all commodities, right? Corn, beans, wheat. The backside of this inflation thing is going to be ugly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, there's no one that can predict it. If they're telling you they can predict it, you better run away from them. Right. And that doesn't mean you're not going to go to $9, $10 corn first, but eventually, economics wins, right? And they say the cure for low prices. The opposite's true as well. Especially if you're into a situation where the Fed's increasing rates to get control of inflation, the world economy shrinks, the consumers, crushed by energy and food prices and rent, and demand goes down. At the same time, high prices bring in a bunch of production across the world. We have back-to-back record crops in North America and South America. All of a sudden, we're swimming in grain again. And that will happen. It might be 18 months from now. It might be 24 months from now. But that will happen, and that's what we have to really guard against, in my opinion. So that's a long answer that it's kind of related to your beef and cattle question. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's immediate, but boy, we gotta watch that closely and try to stay on the front edge of that curve, because we will go over the cliff eventually, and we're gonna have to be much more aggressive with protecting ourselves when that happens. But right now, I think things are at a pretty good support level. Not that they can't go a little bit lower in hogs or cattle, but I think you're at pretty good levels here that should be some long-term support.
All right, good stuff, man. Well, Chip, appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
You bet. It's always interesting, Casey. It's getting more and more confusing out there daily, so
that's right.
It's good to stay on top of it.
What's the best way to get a hold of you at Blue Reef Agri Marketing?
Yeah, best way is just call our office, 309-550-7213.
Right on. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I also go to LinkedIn as well. I post stuff there. That's where you find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast and blogs as well. Go to MovingIronLLC.com with the entire library of the Moving Iron Podcast, as well as every blog I've ever written is there, posted up there in the blog section. For more information about the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, that's September 6th, 7th, and 8th at the Hilton downtown. Go to Moving Iron LLC, and you can check it out there as well. So speaker information, how to get in, register for the event. There's also hotel information, all that kind of stuff's right there as well. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's move smart, folks. Out. Axon Tire is going to have more tips, tricks, and client advice throughout the year and in September at the Moving Iron Summit in Nashville. If you're looking to sign up for the event, please head over to MovingIronLLC.com. We hope to see you there. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransitinc.com for all of your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving